Yeah.
And it just feels like sometimes we're constantly being told everything is new and unprecedented, especially when it comes to how people connect, how they build their lives together, how they form families. Like it's this big dramatic shift.
Right. Totally.
But then you start digging a little deeper, maybe just scratching the surface. And it's like, wait, haven't we been here before? Isn't this just kind of the same thing with a different filter on it?
Yeah, that's what kept coming up for me with this one. This one kept coming up. It's funny how that works, isn't it? This whole feeling, the sense of constant, like, upheaval around relationships and families. It's something we've been thinking about for a while.
Mm-hmm.
What's genuinely new in how we structure our lives and loves, and what's just, I don't know, the latest version of something ancient repackaged for right now. It's really not as clear-cut as people make it out to be when they talk about tradition or, like, the good old days.
Right. Because you say the traditional family, and immediately your brain just pulls up this image, doesn't it?
Instant.
Like 1950s, the suburban house, dad coming home with a briefcase, mom in the kitchen, the 2.5 kids playing nicely in the yard. It's this image that became almost like a national ideal, especially in certain circles. For decades, it was held up as like the goal, the sacred structure.
The blueprint.
Yeah, the blueprint for everything good. But the more I looked at it, the more I was like, what were we actually idolizing there? What was really going on?
It's so true. And what's kind of mind-blowing is realizing that this whole mid-century suburban thing, it wasn't some timeless biblical standard that had always existed. It was, in a lot of ways, a cultural experiment.
An experiment, wow.
Yeah, and honestly, if you look closely, maybe not a super successful one, like if you peel back the layers, it
Wow.
really seemed to prioritize economic efficiency, convenience almost, over any real relational depth. It was more about keeping up appearances,
Yeah.
the look of stability and order rather than maybe doing the harder work of building genuinely resilient, emotionally healthy homes and communities. It was a trade-off for sure, and we're still living with the ripples of that choice.
That hit so hard because when you actually dig into what was happening inside those perfect-looking houses, the cracks were there from the start, weren't they?
Oh, yeah.
Like the dads, the men, who were supposed to be these like strong, stoic providers, they were kind of reduced to just being breadwinners, right? They were out of the house all day, physically at work, but often pretty emotionally distant from their kids, from the family life. They're providing the money, sure, but maybe not always engaging in the day-to-day messiness, the emotional stuff. That sounds like a heavy burden and kind of lonely, too, for a lot of guys.
Totally. And then you had the moms. I remember reading Betty Friedan. She just nailed it in The Feminine Mystique. She talked about the problem that has no name, this like deep shared unease that so many suburban women felt. They were isolated, stuck in this bubble of domestic loneliness, carrying the entire emotional and logistical load of the home. And everyone else looked happy on the outside, so these women often thought, what's wrong with me? Why aren't I the happy housewife heroine? It was such a powerful insight into that era, that gap between the image and the reality.
And the kids. We tend to romanticize the 50s as this super innocent time, but even back then, teenagers were already starting to be shaped way more by their friends, by their peers, than by their parents or the community.
Definitely.
They were getting more rebellious, more into material things, kind of cynical even. I remember reading about the sociologist James Coleman, who did a study back in 1960, and he found that suburban teens actually had higher rates of delinquency and detachment compared to kids in cities or rural areas.
Wow, really? Higher?
Yeah. It really makes you pause, like, how did this peer-driven culture, sort of cut off from parents and community guidance, start creating this whole identity thing for a generation? It wasn't exactly the solid moral bedrock we sometimes imagine it to be.
And it wasn't just like individual families struggling alone. Even the big institutions like churches, instead of maybe challenging these trends, often just reinforce them.
How so?
Well, they started splitting up ministries, right? You had the men's group, the women's auxiliary, the youth group, all separate. It mirrored the fragmentation happening in the homes. And you saw this real loss of like intergenerational wisdom. Kids were getting more shaped by TV, ads, pop culture, drifting away from those deeper moral or historical roots that maybe earlier generations passed down more naturally.
That's wild. It's a whole cultural shift pulling them away.
Exactly.
And what's truly bananas is that when you see modern attempts to recapture that exact 1950s ideal, they often just stumble into the same problems. Like, we haven't learned a thing.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Totally. People double down on super rigid gender roles, push the stay-at-home mom thing as the only way, try to recreate this neat, ordered world that honestly never really worked perfectly for everyone anyway. And what happens? You get emotionally disconnected dads again, moms carrying these impossible burdens, kids getting anxious and kind of self-absorbed, and marriage is just crumbling under the weight of it all. It's like we're stuck in this loop trying to remake a flawed experiment instead of figuring out what actually builds a healthy family now.
But here's the kicker, right? These worries about family change, about marriage falling apart, they're not new. This isn't some unique 21st century panic.
Oh, yeah.
Historians point out these fears go way, way back, like Puritan times back in America. The specific issues might change, the pressures shift, but families have always been adapting, always facing challenges. This idea of a static, unchanging, traditional family, it's basically a myth.
A myth we keep telling ourselves.
Exactly. A family life is more like a river, you know, always flowing, always changing with a landscape of economics, demographics, culture. It's not some fixed statue. And maybe how comfortable we are with that flow is the real measure of how resilient we are.
So we've always been in flux. That just blows up the whole idea of traditional, doesn't it? If family life has always shifted based on the economy, who's around, cultural changes. I read something referencing these historians, Mintz and Kellogg, and they pointed to exactly those three things: the economy, demography, and women's changing roles as the big drivers of family evolution throughout American history. It's like this constant dance that's never stopped.
Absolutely. Think about early American families. Totally different world. Women and kids weren't just sitting around. They were essential workers in the family economy, farming, making stuff at home.
Right, everyone pitched in.
Yeah, it wasn't about these separate spheres yet. And legally, this concept called coverture meant a wife basically disappeared legally into her husband, couldn't own property, couldn't sue someone. Her legal identity was just gone, absorbed by his, like basically in the same category as the kids, legally speaking. Tells you a lot about the power dynamics back then.
And raising kids back then. That sounds intense. Like seeing children as inherently sinful, needing their wills broken.
Yeah, harsh stuff.
And this idea of fostering kids out to other families for training and discipline. It wasn't just poor families, but like across the board.
Yeah.
That's so different from how we think about bonding and attachment now.
Completely different mindset. Then bam, industrialization hits. Huge shift. People move from farms to cities, from making things to earning cash. And that fundamentally changed family life forever. The biggest thing, work leaves the home.
Right.
Before, the farm or workshop was right there. Now, men increasingly go out to work in factories, offices, creates the sharp line. Public world of work, private world of home. That was a massive turning point.
And that leads straight into that 19th century ideal, right? The companionate marriage, separate spheres. But you mentioned it was mostly a middle-class white thing.
Pretty much. This picture of the dad as the breadwinner, out earning, and mom focused purely on home and kids. But that image, for working-class families, it was often just not possible.
Reality check.
Totally. Wives often had to work, sometimes cleaning houses for those middle-class women, and kids brought in a significant chunk of the family income just to survive. So what we picture as the standard was never really standard for everyone. It was a class thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
And in the early 20th century, things shift again. Building on that foundation, families start forming more around romance, sexual love, not just economics or social standing. People start using birth control, aiming for smaller families. And importantly, sex for pleasure within marriage becomes more acceptable, not just for making babies. Parent-child relationships get less formal. Kids get a bit more freedom, maybe hang out with friends more, which kind of sets the stage for those later teen dynamics we talked about.
So the idea of dads being mostly providers, kind of distant emotionally.
Yeah.
That wasn't just a 50s thing. It was already happening earlier, even in this companionate era.
Yeah, seems like it.
And moms were already shouldering the main household and childcare responsibility then, too. Okay, so the 50s ideal wasn't some sudden invention, just maybe locking in trends that were already rolling.
Exactly. It solidified that gendered division of labor. And this brings us right to maybe the biggest constant driver of change, especially lately, women's shifting roles.
For sure.
They went from being economic partners on the farm to being confined to this supposedly spiritually elevated home sphere to now steadily increasing employment, especially married moms. That just reshapes everything, what it means to be a wife, a mother, which then changes what it means to be a husband and father too, with guys taking on more home stuff. It's this ongoing, like, rebalancing act.
That post-World War II moment feels so significant. Women got independence, skills, identity from wartime jobs.
Right.
And then they were just expected, what, give it all up, go back to the kitchen when the men came home. Even with the government pushing them, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
That was trustful. And then the trauma the returning soldiers carried. No wonder the divorce rate nearly doubled in just a few years then.
Oh.
It's like a snapshot of huge societal forces crashing into personal lives.
And by the mid-60s, it was undeniable. Women getting more degrees, pouring into the workforce. Then in the early 80s, divorce rate peaks 1 in 2 marriages ending. That wasn't just a number. It was a cultural earthquake.
Yeah.
Some saw it as total family breakdown,
Yeah.
society unraveling, but others saw it as liberation, right? Finally breaking free from patriarchal structures that held women back. It was this intense moment of like social reckoning.
Yeah, and the economic arguments around it were huge, too. I remember reading about this economist, Gary Becker. He basically argued women working destabilized marriage because they weren't economically dependent anymore, like specialization, him earning her homemaking was the key to stability.
At the pure economics view.
But then the sociologist, Valerie Oppenheimer, pushed back. She said, hold on, it was often a rational response to shaky male wages and inflation. 2 incomes became necessary for a lot of families just to get by. And for women, working was like insurance against divorce because homemaking skills don't exactly transfer if the marriage ends. It's way more complex than just women working to divorce. It's about economics, security, agency, all tangled up.
What's wild is how society has always tried to manage or improve families through policies and experts. Think about the progressive era, late 19th, early 20th century. You had all these experts, social scientists, doctors, educators, who genuinely thought they could use science to fix family life.
Like engineering a better family.
Kind of. Teach people how to have good marriages, run efficient homes, raise proper kids. They even linked stuff like juvenile delinquency and poverty directly to bad parenting. It was this real belief in scientific management for the home.
That scientific motherhood idea, too, where experts told moms the right way to raise kids, like it's a formula. But then you get that weird paradox with labor-saving devices.
Oh, yeah, the irony.
Fridges, washing machines. Supposed to make life easier, right? Give women more free time. But somehow, housework actually increased.
How does that even happen?
Because standards went way up. Suddenly, you needed spotlessly clean everything, and fewer people could afford domestic help.
Yeah.
So, more tools, but paradoxically, more work to meet these new, higher expectations. It's nuts.
And the legal system started slowly catching up. Family courts tried to make divorce less like a battle, focusing on the best interests of the child for custody. Juvenile courts recognized kids aren't just tiny adults. Laws banned child labor, made school mandatory. Even day nurseries started appearing, acknowledging that more low-income moms had to work.
Then the huge one, the New Deal in the 30s. Massive government intervention, programs for jobs, family planning support, but the Social Security Act in 35, that was foundational. Old age support, aid for poor widowed mothers. These weren't temporary fixes. They fundamentally changed the social safety net for families, forever altering the landscape.
And connecting that to today, policymakers are still wrestling with these same shifts. Research shows, some family structures like single-parent homes correlate with tougher socioeconomic outcomes, but, and this is crucial, it's different depending on income, race, education.
Right, it's not one size fits all.
Exactly. So the push now is to understand the connections: family, education, health, economy, government. It's all linked. Ease the economic stress. And figure out workplace policies that actually reduce tension for families juggling everything. It's way bigger than just individual choices.
Which is such a perfect transition to love in the digital age. Because if anything's thrown a wrench into how we connect, it's tech. Specifically, dating apps. I mean, Gen Z and dating apps. It's this wild paradox, right?
Yeah, totally.
Raised online, glued to their phones, yet so many say they want to find love the old-fashioned way. It feels like this weird rebellion against their own natural habitat.
It's definitely a thing, that dating app fatigue. You even see it in the business side. Bumble, losing value, layoffs. And when you ask young people why, a big reason is just how hard it is to connect with random strangers online.
Yeah.
They're like, I have no clue what their values are, their interests. Lifestyles are just so specific now. Kids or no kids. Vegan or carnivore. Super social or homebody. Trying to find real overlap from a few pics in a bio. It's tough.
Totally. And it's not just the apps, it's how they've kind of messed with approaching people in real life. I saw someone say, approaching people you don't know is just seen as weird now. And it wasn't just like an internet take. People feel that.
It raises the stakes.
Yeah. for just saying hi in person. It feels like you need a full background check before you can even make eye contact.
Yeah.
Makes spontaneous connection almost impossible.
And it's funny, some people call dating apps the new age newspaper ad. Like,
Yeah.
you're just advertising yourself. Please like me. Feels desperate.
But wait.
But then you realize, yeah, people did meet through newspaper ads back in the day, maybe our grandparents. So the concept isn't new, just the medium feels different, more public, maybe more performative.
Right, in that internal struggle. I hear young people saying they feel pressure to date by friends, family, society, like they have to be on the apps.
Yeah.
But then they find relief just stepping back, saying no. It sounds exhausting.
So much emotional labor.
Yeah. And then the whole male loneliness epidemic debate. Is it self-inflicted? Is it because the online message for guys is often don't approach, leads to this real-world inhibition?
But then on the other side, a lot of women don't like being approached randomly, especially the gym or whatever, because of bad experiences. So for them, apps can feel safer, more controlled.
Ugh, it's a mess.
It feels like everyone's caught. Genuine connection is getting harder. The apps promise connection, but it can feel shallow, like collecting contacts instead of building community. And it hits everyone. I've heard women say they miss guys approaching them IRL too.
So while the big general apps might be struggling with fatigue, these super niche apps are taking off.
Yeah.
It's like Field, aimed at ethical non-monogamy, polyamory, LGBTQ plus folks, casual connections. It's booming because it serves specific needs the mainstream ones don't.
And Grindr too, for the LGBTQ plus community, still growing, focusing on authentic connections. What's wild is a survey they did showed over half their Gen Z users actually want marriage and monogamy, want families.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Challenges stereotypes.
Totally. And they're planning an AI wingman to help start conversations. Like a digital assistant for your love life. Shows how tech keeps trying to adapt to these deep human needs for connection, even in surprising ways.
Which leads us to sugar dating. Sugaring sounds modern, but yeah, it's basically mistress kept woman courtesan, an old practice with a new name. And it seems to be gaining traction again.
Why, though? What are the motivations?
It's interesting. For some sugar babies, it's not just money. They talk about gaining confidence, knowing their worth, getting mentorship, support, clarity. They don't find in traditional dating, which feels draining. They stress it's about honesty and balance.
That really flips the script. And it makes you question norms. Some argue this whole vanilla 50-50 dating, splitting every cost, is actually the new thing. Traditionally, providing for a partner was kind of expected. There's even this provocative idea. A wife, a girlfriend, isn't that still a sugar baby if there's financial provision involved? It challenges how we define these roles. Plus, beyond money, there can be networking benefits, meeting influential people you wouldn't otherwise. I read about former sugar daddies who stayed friends with past sugar babies, proud of their later success. It's more complex than just a transaction.
That's a huge perception shift, almost normalizing it. But then you think about the international side, the parallels to mail-order brides. Also an old practice, often driven by really harsh economic realities in developing countries.
Desperation, sometimes?
Yeah, unemployment, poverty. Historically, women recruited based on looks, youth, virginity, like the tobacco wives in the colonies, or the filles du roi in New France. Specific, often difficult situations.
And you still see virgins today. Filipino women marrying abroad to help family immigrate, Ukrainian women seeking safety and opportunity elsewhere, even wealthy Chinese women seeking Western men sometimes based on stereotypes.
But there's a dark side. Oh, absolutely. The risk of abuse is huge and real. You hear terrible stories, false promises, exploitation, like those cases in South Korea with Filipino women. And the U.S. even passed a law, IMBRA, specifically to protect foreign spouses because domestic violence rates are higher for immigrant women. It's a reminder that these arrangements carry serious risks.
So pulling this all together, this digital world, how do we actually connect authentically? It's a huge challenge. Apps promise connection, but it can feel fake, right? Risks honesty, transparency, the foundations of any real relationship.
It's that collector's trap idea, just racking up followers, contacts, without real depth. The platforms kind of push that, numbers, success. But you end up with this network that's wide but shallow, broad yet brittle, expansive yet empty. It's not about quantity.
So how do we make digital a conduit, not a barrier for being real? It means being intentional, bringing our actual selves. It boils down to basics: respect, transparency, intention.
Good. Write that down.
Respect is listening, valuing people's time, their input. Transparency is being clear, truthful about why you're reaching out. Are you selling something? Just connecting. And intention is knowing your why. These should be the real currency online, just like offline.
Yeah, because otherwise, what are we even building? It ties back to family being in flux, facing new pressures, and so much is economic. Raising kids today, $250,000 before college.
Insane.
And those pandemic supports, that helped a bit. Rolling back makes it harder. No wonder 72% of people who want kids say cost is a huge factor in if or how many they have. It's personal choices driven by massive financial weight.
Which creates long-term strain. Middle-class squeeze, car culture, changing gender roles, parents work longer hours, cut back on extras. That impacts kids' well-being directly. And you see priorities shifting. Parents now stress financial independence, job satisfaction for their adult kids more than marriage or grandkids. Reflects the new reality.
And the whole population is shifting, getting older, more diverse, still growing slowly here, unlike some places. Women still live longer, though the gap's narrowing slightly.
But that old age dependency ratio, that's the big one. How many working adults support each older person? It's set to double by 2060, meaning fewer workers supporting more retirees.
So like 3.5 workers per retiree in 2020, down to 2.5 by 2060.
Exactly. Huge implications for Social Security, healthcare, everything. A massive, quiet shift happening.
Yeah, and how we even form families is totally different now because of all this. Marriage,
Hmm.
way less common for young adults than back in the 70s. They're more likely to live with a partner, unmarried.
Cohabitation is up.
Yeah. And it's linked to money, too.
Hmm.
Higher earners tend to marry more, while others wait for financial security, maybe forever.
And more kids born outside marriage, over 40% now, mostly to cohabiting couples. Childlessness is more common. Family size is smaller, 1 or 2 kids, not 3 or 5. Marriage isn't the starting point cornerstone anymore. It's the achievement, capstone, after career and stability.
Which leads to that two Americas idea, right? Family life splitting along class lines. Higher education often means more traditional path marriage, low divorce, fewer non-marital births. Less education often means less marriage, more kids outside marriage, often single moms in tough spots. It's a widening gap.
And this brings up the hidden load, especially on parents and mental health. Parenting is just hard. Like 62% say it's harder than they expected. And parental mental health directly impacts kids' futures. Divorce, for instance, increases kids' risk of depression, anxiety. It's a heavy toll.
No wonder 40% of parents are super worried their kids will struggle with anxiety or depression. And then throw climate anxiety into the mix. It's becoming this constant background hum for parents.
Especially if you've lived through extreme weather, it's like a dull headache that never goes away. This feeling of responsibility for the planet, for their future, it's overwhelming, especially when families are already losing homes to climate disasters.
And it's actually affecting decisions. Like 9% of young adults, 16% of Black young adults delayed or decided against having kids because of climate change. That's alongside money worries, career, everything else. It's a real factor.
Parents need support here. Climate-aware therapists connecting with other parents dealing with it. It's not about solving the anxiety first, but parenting through it.
But there's a weird flip side too. Sometimes having kids makes parents more eco-conscious, especially affluent ones. Like the responsibility sparks action. It's complicated.
Totally. And speaking of complicated burdens, that invisible load on moms, all the logistics, planning, remembering everything for the family, finances, shopping, school, activities, it's this constant mental juggling, and it usually falls harder on women.
Exhausting just thinking about it.
Right. But now AI tools are actually being developed to try and help, like a co-pilot for managing your parenting life, trying to offload some of that mental labor.
Whoa, an AI parenting assistant. That's wild. Could be amazing. Okay, shifting gears, slightly blended families, another layer of complexity, combining histories, co-parenting, managing old emotions.
Huge challenges. Key is acknowledging it takes time. Planning parenting stuff before getting married helps. Bonding takes patients do real-life stuff together, not just fun outings. Let stepkids set the pace. Don't force it.
And communication, right?
Yeah.
Saying what you need and actually prioritizing the marriage itself. That sounds tricky, but makes sense. If the couple isn't solid, the whole thing wobbles. Set boundaries. Get help if you need it.
Definitely. And discipline. Needs consistency. Biological parent usually takes the lead early on. Step-parent supports. Lots of talks about values, rules. And trying to form an alliance with the ex-spouse, shifting to a co-parenting team focused on the kids. Avoid using kids as messengers.
Creating new rituals helps too, right? Like family dinners, game nights. Builds that shared identity. And just listening to the kids, understanding their worries. Plus, there's the whole work-life thing everyone struggles with. No magic formula. Integration is the buzzword now. Blending work and life. Can work, but you have to protect downtime.
So many factors influence it. Workplace culture, expectations, technology, that double-edged sword of flexibility versus always being on. Digital boundaries are crucial. Commute, work setup, location, even your own energy levels. And the signs of burnout are real. Fatigue, irritability, headaches, relationship strain, losing focus. That's allostatic load, chronic stress wearing you down.
And society plays a huge role. Some cultures have built in multi-generational support, like in Southern Europe or Asia. Western societies rely more on institutions or paid help. But globally, countries with family-friendly policies leave, flexibility, childcare, have happier parents, healthier kids. It's systemic.
So the path forward, it's about adapting. Using tech wisely, building resilience, seeking supportive environments. Adaptability is key. Self-assessment helps. And companies need to step up, rethink expectations, offer real support like on-site childcare. It benefits everyone.
It's just a lot. So messy, so complex, often feels unresolved, how we connect, build families, find our footing. It feels ancient and totally new at the same time. No single right way, just all these different paths people are trying to navigate as the ground keeps shifting under them.
Exactly. Which leaves that question hanging, doesn't it? What does well-adjusted or successful even mean anymore when family and relationships themselves are constantly changing? Are we looking for a fixed blueprint, or is it more about learning to ride the waves, navigate the chaos with, I don't know, a bit more grace, more compassion for ourselves and each other?
I think it has to be the latter. It really does. This episode is powered by Neon Core Media for stories they said were too real to tell.